I'm saying happy Easter, but Jerome Powell is saying, nuh-uh, girlfriend, no rate cut action this year unless things improve. Kid you not, this man is out there trying to ice the economy, but it doesn't appear that the Fed is having the effect. Happy Easter, everyone. And I'm just giving y'all the warning that we might get a little spicy in this one. So if you got kids in the room, you might want to put them away. If you're the YouTube moderator, I'm giving everyone the warning now saying, Daddy's going to bring it. No, for real, Jerome Powell's going to bring it, and he's going to show you the size of the meat. BZ starts us off, says, Happy Easter, dude. Dude, Happy Easter to all of you. Trick hanging out with us. Now, check this out. Trick comments on, like, every video. As do a lot of you, which I really appreciate, by the way. But Trick commented, Happy Easter, Klaus. Now, I wanted to bring this up because Trick has been saying this for months. Saying it for months. Listen to this, okay? And I'm telling you, I follow these comments. I follow y'all. This is really cool. By the way, Happy Easter too, Trick. Yeah, gonna be knocking out a recovery run today. A 6-miler. Gotta get my legs to feel better. All right, let's get to heat map and let's get to Jerome Powell. Bitcoin sitting at 70,993. ETH 3646. Sol getting ready to touch 200. XRP sitting at 63.1. XLM at 14.1. Look at Apto still looking strong at 1680. Meme coins, look at Doge up there at 20 cents. There's some things moving. But by the way, when you look at the heat map now, as we do these videos, you guys know I bring them every day of the week, okay? And I love it, and I love sharing these times with you. Have you noticed weekends have been kind of boring? And I know this is like a holiday, so like this is like finance is like the last thing a lot of people are thinking of. But have you noticed since the ETFs with BTC were live that weekends have gotten a little boring, right? You're not seeing like the big swings anymore. It's all happening during normal business hours, Monday to Friday. Just kind of a weird thing here. You've been warned, okay? All right, this is what Powell said. We expect inflation to move down to 2%, but on a path that is sometimes bumpy, he noted at the conference. This just happened, okay? I'm sharing this news with you. The question then is, are those just bumps or are they something more than bumps? We're just going to have to let the data tell us that. There isn't anybody who knows, Powell said. Now, Jerome is trying to come out as much as he can to cool the economy down, right? Like, I mean, really put the brakes on the economy because things have been running pretty good. Stock market's looking pretty good. Gold's looking pretty good. Crypto's looking pretty good. But inflation is looking kind of bumpy, and we're not back to that 2% rate. Now, mind you, this doesn't just apply to the United States. This applies to everyone because around the globe, we're not getting back to normal times yet. We're all still paying just a shit ton of money. And that's affecting what the consumer, the discretionary funds, what the consumer can spend. So check this out, all right? This is what it looks like over the last year. Now, swing it on out. You can see we were doing really good, bringing this thing on down, nice, and then look, we went sideways. That's the problem, okay? So what Jerome Powell is trying to do is he's trying to slow things down, slow expectations down so that we don't create this bubble everywhere. In the video I did earlier, we talked about, hey, are some of you guys like, pumping the brakes on your buying because you think things are maybe a bit expensive? And actually quite a few of you actually did comment about that saying, yes, I am slowing down my buying now because, hey, there might be a pullback here. So I think a lot of us are seeing that greed in the market. Now, here's what happens. Goldman Sachs then comes out and is like, look, fuck your Easter. See, Jerome Powell says, fuck your puts and fuck your calls. Jerome Powell's got you by the balls. See, he's sitting there saying, look, I'm going to knock this thing down. He said, I'm not going to raise rates. But he said, look, I'm not ready to drop it. So Goldman Sachs comes out and is like, yo, we're going to update some of our information here. So you got people from Goldman Sachs coming out saying, you know how we were expecting a couple rate cuts this year? Nuh-uh, girlfriend, screw your Easter. No, I mean, like, seriously, they're taking the Easter ham off the table and saying, this isn't for you. And they're feeding it to the dogs. I've got 4 doggies. I got 4 shepherds, okay? So I know what that's like. If I took the ham and I just, like, threw it, they would just fucking maul the thing, okay? So Goldman Sachs is that, and Goldman Sachs is like, look, 0 rate cuts. Who else was saying 0 rate cuts? Trick was. Trick has been saying it now for months and months and months, 0 rate calls. Now we're going to get to where you can find this juicy data. Dude, for real, did you think this was just going to be like an easy video where I say naughty things the whole time? No, we're learning. We're learning. See, that's why you touch the subscribe button. It's okay to touch it. I know you've heard that joke before if you're a constant viewer, OG fan. But if you're a new viewer, yes, it is okay to touch it. And it is okay to touch it, by the way, on weekends. Just throwing it out there. So Goldman comes out and there's like, look, zero rate cuts. The Goldilocks outcome of strong growth and lower inflation was achieved by a timely expansion in the supply side of the economy. That's mainly better than expected gains in the workforce and productivity. The bottom line is the Fed will spend most of 2024 fighting inflation. As a result, yield levels and fixed income will stay high. The market now has to realize that the data is not going to slow down, and the Fed pivot towards a higher policy has given additional tailwind to the economy and financial markets. Basically what he's saying is, since the Fed said, you know what, we're not going to raise rates, right? We're not going to screw you even harder, grab the lube, you know, bend over to the front and touch your toes. That's what Jerome's saying. We're not going to do that to you. We're not going to do that to you, okay? We're not going to get that bad. So the market's like, okay, cool. So if you're not going to super screw us, we could start pumping. And for real, it's not just crypto. Like gold and silver is pumping as well. Ooh, look at this. See, you gotta like the sterling. Sterling, it's beautiful. And you know, the gold and the stuff. Like, stuff is just worth more. The stock market's worth more. It's crazy. PSA action, you're seeing it on the table, worth more. It's also because it's baseball season, and Luis Roberts is like slamming home runs on like the crappiest team in baseball. So Goldman's out is like, look, don't expect the rate cuts. The Fed's like, look, we're not going to raise them. So the market is getting this guidance on basically what the playbook is this year, and that is no rate cuts. Trick has been saying that the whole time. Now here's Goldman finally coming out to say it. The Fed have already told you they're not going to hike rates to try to shorten that timeline getting to 2%. So if you're the market, you're like, well, that's okay. Exactly. We're pricing all of this in. We're building in more bullish times because we're like, look, if the Fed isn't really going to change rates and we're all kind of surviving the way it is now, yes, I admit the lower class is getting totally screwed on this. And sorry, the government's just not helping. All right? Government sucks. Plain and simple, government sucks. What country do you live in? Guess what? The answer is your government sucks. I live in the United States. Guess what? My government sucks. What about 1999 Pokemon OG Lapras Hollows? His government probably sucks too. OG, 1999, by the way. Lapras. Hollow. So anyways. I mean, so if we're seeing this and we're like, hey, look, rates are going to stay consistent for a while. We can manage this. We still have enough money to squeeze in. We start looking at an economy that can stay green. That's why Jerome Powell keeps coming on the mic saying, girlfriend, no, I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. No, bad. But Jerome, you already said you're not going to raise rates. Well, now we're sitting here going, okay, so if on the realistic side, we're going to keep things the same for the while. That means on the optimistic side, which has a heavier weight rating of favorability. Why? Because Jerome said he's not going to raise rates. Rates are high enough as it is. And they wouldn't do it during election year now, would they? No, because, oh my God, a certain side would, holy crap, implode if all of a sudden we raised rates. Come on now, you're all thinking it too. Oh, Klaus, the Fed operates independently. Well, you're dumb as hell if you think that. You know the government pulls the strings on these pieces of crap. Anyways, so if we're on the more optimistic side here and there's a higher favorability of that, of when we could lower rates, you have to start looking at CME data. The problem with the CME data is, as of right now, this is the May contract, May 1st. I'm going to have a big dates video coming up. Again, that's why you touch it and hit the subscribe button, so you don't miss out on this. Yes, we're bringing the big dates monthly videos. It's okay to touch it sometimes twice in a day, too. Like, if you've got multiple YouTube accounts, you can hit the subscribe button twice and touch that bell and all the stuff down there twice in a day. So it's okay. You might be tired afterwards, but at least you could go for it. Okay, so the current target rate right now, and this is for the May contract, is at 95.8. The problem is the CME group, the people that make the money on this, are saying, you know what? We've got a 61% chance in the June contract that we're going to lower it. So now they're either being way too optimistic. And if we fast forward to July, you start having a 25% chance, a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to be at the 2 rate cut by then, and at least a 75% chance that you're going to have 1 rate cut. Dude, that's crazy. So there's some heavy optimism being priced into this market. Now, when Goldman comes out and says, you know what, we expect it to go sideways, we expect no rate cuts, remember, that's also a positive for the market because we're sitting here going, okay, cool, we could survive this. So again, our current situation is manageable. Yes, for most classes out there. There are a lot of classes that are struggling and are going to continue to get struggled, especially debt-laden classes out there. Talking about economic classes, socioeconomic classes. If you're carrying a lot of debt now, you're getting screwed. Why? Because rates are really high. You need to buy a car here soon, you're screwed. High interest rates. You want to buy a house right now? High interest rates. Have fun with that. Right? We know what's happening. If you got cash, you're able to survive. You're able to get through this. Right? You're not paying on interest on anything. You don't have any loans, any debt. You're doing good. Same with companies too. So if our optimistic side is that we could survive this and we could keep things going, our realistic side is the same message. We might have a lot more green to come. And yeah, I know, I'm repping the White Sox with the PSA stuff. I can't help it. You know, who doesn't love Ozzie Guillen rookie card, PSA 10? Come on, who doesn't? I got something really super special, sweet that I'm going to be sharing soon. But anyways, yeah, I mean, really, this is good news for all of us. Are there some credit concerns out there? Yeah, there are. Are we going to be dealing with some defaults coming up? Yeah, but I mean, we're expecting this, and that's what I'm saying. Like, where this playbook is playing out longer than we anticipated, but we're seeing the things happen, right? The ripple effects from the Rona are still being felt now, years later. Supply chain issues, you know, we're still running into fiat bubbles here all the time. And what's interesting is Jerome is almost kind of like overplayed his hand. Like, the market's like, dude, kind of it's out of your hands now, man. Like, you played your shit. Like, you're done. Like, we've got the election coming up. By the way, going to have a super big election story coming up here. Global elections. Again, thank you to Trick, because yeah, you're going to hear some really cool stats about elections this year. Super cycle for elections. So you've got elections coming up, and now the elections then tie into what? Regs and stuff like that. And there's a lot of regs out there for crypto that's being passed that isn't necessarily good for you. Why? Because it kind of, you know, goes into your data and personal information, and isn't like crypto all about like decentralization and like breaking free from the government? So there's a lot at play here, and it's a very pivotal time. But on the financial end, it appears that we're gonna be okay for the time being, and that the economy can withstand the higher rates, and that the markets can withstand it. Now, housing, we know, is going to be a problem. We're going to follow CPI data, right? Big dates video is coming up soon. I'm telling you, you'd love it. New fans are going to love the video. OG fans, you know what I'm talking about. Monthly video. So you got CPI data coming out. We talked about the May contract on this video for the Fed. So, you know, hey, if you're playing the markets, you're like, dude, he's probably going to pause, right? Right? He's probably going to pause. But now what if CPI data is really high? Fuel has been going up. Energy prices have gone up. Food, we've seen poultry go up here lately. So, it's very interesting because a lot of things aren't breaking. Housing is not breaking. New cars, by the way, still aren't breaking at the rate that we would like. Used cars broke a while ago. We showed that on the data. But there's still so many things out there that are just pounding the consumer. The other thing was now not just on the consumer, and holy shit, there's a lot of learning in this video. Like, seriously, not all this to the moon BS, but actually like learning like how money like flows and where it can come from in the valves. But you know, we start thinking about what the producers are paying. PPI data, okay? PPI data has been saying that producers are paying a shitload. And guess what they're doing? They're passing the cost on to people like you and me. So if they're going to keep passing on their cost, right, to do business onto you, and their costs are going up and up and up, that means we can assume that inflation is going to stay high for a while at the minimum. So it's all going to come down to how much cash do you have to weather the storm? Whether we're talking about personal finance, whether we're talking about businesses, whether we're talking about governments, everything right now is going to be based on how well can you manage debt and how much cash on hand do you have to weather this storm. Now, depending on how old you are, you may have lived through this already. You may have had parents that lived through this. You may have been super young when it happened and don't remember. But guess what, everyone? You're going to be living through it now. So there you go. I'll leave that in because I do fuck up occasionally. Happy Easter, everyone. Even though Jerome Powell took out his meat, laid it on the table, we're like, dude, we've seen it already, man. We've seen it on Snapchat. I don't need to see it anymore. Boring. We've priced it in. So Jerome Powell's played his cards, and I'm displaying my cards. Not on Snapchat, though. That's for other things. So happy Easter, everyone. From me to you. I'll catch you cool cats later.